Alrighty, good morning. So today we're going to talk about Adobe Illustrator. So we're going to introduce the Illustrator platform and what Illustrator has to offer and some of the things that we can do with Adobe Illustrator and how it compares and contrasts to Adobe Photoshop, which we've been using for the first half of the semester. So what is it? Essentially, Adobe Illustrator is a digital art software. So a lot of professional artists, graphic designers, web designers, animators, game designers will use Adobe Illustrator to create some artwork that's used in some of their work. So it allows us to do vector-based work, which we'll talk about that in a second. It also is mostly freehand drawing, freehand creating. So we're using different tools to create shapes, different tools to create lines that essentially will create various objects, characters, landscapes, illustrations of photographs, those kinds of things. So who uses Adobe Illustrator? Again, graphic designers, artists, and illustrators. If you look at a lot of children's books, you might see a lot of illustrations that are done probably via Adobe Illustrator, web designers, fashion designers, and so forth. So it's a very, very versatile platform that a lot of people use in their careers. So why are we using it? So we're going to produce artwork with it. We're going to create different things, different portraits, different illustrations of landscapes. We're going to create some really cool stuff in here and just understand the different tools that we can use to create digital artwork. So how does it work? So again, if you look at this little photograph here, this image on the left is what Photoshop is. Photoshop uses pixels to create their imagery. So when you keep zooming in and zooming in and zooming in, basically it's all of these little squares. If you've ever played like Minecraft, or if you've ever seen like, those video games where everything's like cubic, that's kind of what Photoshop is. So it's all these pixels. So when we try to blow it up big enough to put it on like a billboard, or we try to put it on the side of a truck, or if graphic designers are trying to create imagery to put it on larger formats, it might lose its resolution and make it look a little bit more blurry. Adobe Illustrator is this one on the right, if you look. So same image, but as we zoom in, everything still maintains its smoothness and its clarity. So what Adobe Illustrator uses is what we call vector, which is these little mathematical formulas that make up the entirety of the image. So they use points, and they use these different mathematical things that are beyond our studies for this class, but it makes the image look a lot clearer and a lot smoother. So really good for making it really big, making it really small, and not having to worry so much about resolution. So what are we going to do? We're going to do some abstraction where we do different shapes, kind of stuff that you see on like Imagine Dragons album covers, fun illustrations with textures and patterns. We'll do maybe some character design, so understanding how to create ourselves as almost like a emoji, or like a bitmoji, if you would. We're also going to try to do some vector landscapes where you look at a photograph that you've taken on a vacation. You can go in and kind of illustrate that photograph, make it look kind of cool. So all this is done in Adobe Illustrator. So we're going to start off with the elements of design, and we'll get to this in the next tutorial. But we're going to start off by learning some of the basic tools of Adobe Illustrator, how to create shapes, how to create imagery, how to add color, and so forth. It is a very intricate software that takes a little bit of time of getting used to. So we're going to start very simplistic. This might, for some of you that have had digital communications with Mr. Cousineau, you might have had this, and you might have a little bit of background of Adobe Illustrator, but just remember that can always learn new things, and it's always good to review and reiterate. So again, we're going to start basic to just learn how to use the key tools, use the simple stuff. Okay, so here's some things that we're going to cover in this first tutorial that I'm going to have you look at next. We're going to look at some shape tools, which is rectangular shapes, rounded rectangular shapes, ellipse tools, polygonal tools, and also the type tool. All right, so tune into the next tutorial, and we'll talk a little bit about what we're going to be creating today.